welcome back to another video. And so it's been a while since we had a speculation or predictions video, and I decided to share my thoughts and ideas of what the last leg of the raid series would entail with Eden. And this was just something that popped into my head the other day when I was playing through the weekly rounds of Eden, and I couldn't help but remember that we're not done with Eden. I mean, I know a few people in my free company who were talking about Eden like it's all over, but then I reminded them that it's not over. This is just like the second part. We still have one more round of Eden to do, and suddenly we were all talking about what does that mean exactly? Just what is going to be left for us? Because we've already restored all the elements to the empty now, so we still have to round up the whole story about the mysterious voice like inside Gaia's head and exactly who Gaia is in general, because she still doesn't have her memories. But with one last series of quests and trials that we have to do before the whole story of Eden comes to an end, which should be unlocked in 5.4, really makes you wonder just what is waiting for us. So I think a lot of it would depend on if the Scions will be sticking around for that long. I mean, if they do go home in patch 5.3, which is certainly possible, but it also means that we will be losing both Urianger and Thancred. And I think I mentioned this before a few times, but I am all but confident that at least Urianger and the Levier twins will be going back to the source. Of those three alone, I am 100% guaranteeing that they do go home. Thancred and Yestola are a little bit more up in the air about that, but otherwise, unless we can find a way that the others will be able to return to both the source and go back to the first whenever they want, I really don't think that they'll be able to do that. But otherwise, it would make sense for the story to come to the conclusion for Shadowbringers by 5.3, since it will be closing like the initial storyline there. But if the others aren't able to get home by 5.3, then we will be seeing Thancred and Urianger for the last leg of this journey, which I don't think is going to happen. I think that the story will continue on with us helping Reen and Gaia as we continue to help restore life to the empty. So what are we going to be dealing with this time though? Because we've already summoned like the main primals like for the elements, and we did end up restoring all the elements to the empty. So long as we don't really need to get involved with it anymore actually, because now that the elements have returned, it's only a matter of time before it does take on kind of a resemblance to what it used to be. But Urianger did state that that could take decades. So the big question here is, are we going to be summoning more primals? Certainly possible. I mean, we could certainly have a brand new set of primals, but the only other ones where I can think of that it was mandatory that we fight throughout the story of Final Fantasy XIV were battles like with Lakshmi, Bismarck, Ravana, Susano, Good King Mugomog XII, and Shinryu. All the other primals that we fought were kind of optional, such as with the Warring Triad and the Four Lords, who weren't even primals by the way, and none of the ones that we listed seem to be really vital in bringing back life. I mean, perhaps we have something like from the Warring Triad, like with Sephiroth who can command the trees to grow, or maybe we can have the Good King Mog bring back the Mughals. I'm kidding about that last part, that would be horrible. But as far as I know, unless they make like the Warring Triad mandatory to be able to continue on with Eden, I really don't think that we'll be seeing them next. In fact, I would be very surprised if we see any more primals, since the only reason that they were summoned to begin with was to bring life back into the empty. And that life will eventually return to the empty given enough time, though that will take a while. But otherwise, yeah, there's really no reason to want to summon the primals anymore. So this got me to thinking that, well, these have to be some other kind of creatures. Maybe we deal with not only Sin Eaters, but a mixture of Voidsent as well, since we've already faced a few Voidsent up to now. Personally, I think that the most likely solution that's going to be happening is that Gaia is going to try to manipulate things in the empty to kind of speed things along. But in the end, that ends up taking a really bad turn when the fairy in Gaia's mind takes over, and after being attacked either by Sin Eaters, Void Sense, or combination of both, we go through these next few battles to try and save her. I really don't think that we will be losing Gaia. I mean, I do think we'll be seeing a lot more of her in the future, especially since she does have a voice actor, which is very rare, and those aren't just given out to just anyone. So, I think that the first 3 fights are going to be some powerful Void Scent or Sin Eaters, perhaps either their original 14 creatures or maybe something a little bit more unexpected. But as for the bosses themselves, considering the fact that we are getting a lot of build-up and hints to what Gaia's powers could be, especially since it seems that she does have some power over time, I think that Ultimecia will be the final big boss for Eden. Now, on the off chance that you don't know who Ultimecia is, she was the final boss for Final Fantasy VIII. And she is a very powerful sorceress from a distant future who can kind of control all the sorceresses from the past. So she also had some kind of control over time. It was very limited for a while until her powers started growing. But eventually it got to a point that she was powerful enough to kind of reach through time and take possession of all the other sorceresses. So she could control these women like puppets, even though she was way off in the future. I think that this is also very likely because we do get just kind of little hints and clues of Final Fantasy VIII kind of spread throughout the whole story of Eden. So here's what I personally think. If it really is Ultimecia who's going to be the final big boss that we have to deal with, then one of the battles that we're going to be fighting up to that point is going to be Griever. And once again, Griever is a powerful boss that we fight right before Ultimecia in Final Fantasy VIII, and she eventually fuses together with that creature to become like this very sick looking powerful boss, and she is a nightmare to fight in that game, if you ask me. A complete nightmare. And I do think that her final form from 8 would actually make a really good Void Scent. So imagine this, she could be a really powerful Void Scent from the 13th, and she's reaching out to Gaia because of her unique powers. And through Gaia, she finds out about what Eden is capable of. So she could change her plan to see if she could have someone gain control of Eden and increase her own powers, possibly to escape what's left of the 13th and go someplace that's either full of Eden for her to gut herself on, or just basically to rule over with her dark powers. And so when Rean and Gaia return to the Empty, with or without our boys in tow, but definitely with the Warrior of Light to check in on Eden, maybe they decide to see if there's a way they can kind of use Eden's power to maybe speed up the recovery time just a little bit quicker, but then something goes horribly wrong with Eden and they have to find out what's happening. After we find out that something's wrong with Eden, we are attacked by a powerful Void Scent or Sin Eater in the form of Griever. We end up defeating Griever, but that was just a plot for Ultimecia to somehow get to Gaia and takes possession of her again. Because it turns out that the voice that was speaking to Gaia inside her head was Ultimecia the whole time. So imagine it as like kind of like a 3-tiered version of her battle after Griever, and we had to fight to free Gaia from her control, which then leads up to the final battle with Ultimecia herself. I don't know if it will go in that order, but I do feel that we will be needing another boss fight with Darkness, just showing just what we do really need to continue adding to the Empty so that it will continue to grow and thrive. Especially since it did go through all the trouble of explaining this throughout the game, that darkness is just as important as light, and we need that in order to keep this world to survive. Of course, us being the Warrior of Light / Darkness, either or, we find a way that not only defeats Ultimecia, but we save Gaia, who either loses her powers or gains full control of them, and she ends up helping Rean to continue to restore the Empty back to life, maybe moving time up by a few decades so that while it's not healed, it's now at least habitable, and there are possible plans for brave new explorers to eventually set out on their own, create new settlements beyond Norvront and see what is waiting for them out there, and just see what else they can discover, because they are slowly bringing life back to what's left of this world. If you remember, the flood wiped out almost everything except for Norvront. I think they said that 9/10 of this entire planet was destroyed. So imagine like if only one continent left of Earth was all that was left. Like everything else was gone. But you find out that the rest of that empty space is slowly being healed. It's slowly being restored to how it used to be. But even though it will take a while, you know that eventually it's going to be full of life again. Like eventually people will leave the continent of Norvrons and they will set out on their own. They will continue to build cities and settlements and just do all these amazing, wonderful explorations to see what this brand new world has to offer. And I can totally see like Rean and Gaia kind of gaining like full control of Eden, and they're just flying around this world, slowly just restoring the life and just basically being like two girls on a road trip. Like they are like best friends who are on a road trip to just see the world and just continue to help out people, all just on the back of Eden. I can totally see that. Let's do that. I think that would be amazing. Especially since I think that Urianger and Thancred will be going back with all the others. Like this could be their story. This could be how it ends for them. I mean, we will probably be seeing more of them in future updates, like in future expansions, but I do think that that would be like a really good story for it to end on. Because we have the Oracle of Light and the Oracle of Darkness just heading out together on their own and just continuing to kind of live in the moment. They want to see what the future holds. Anyway, I think it's a nice story. Anyway, everyone, thank you all so much for watching. That is my take on what could be waiting for us for the final stretch of Eden. And what do you all think? You think that I'm in the right of it? You think that my ideas are something that we could build off of, or that it's probably going to happen? I mean, we won't be finding out the whole end of the story for Eden at least until 5.4. So we're a long ways away, especially since we still don't have any information about 5.3, but I digress. Anyway, everyone, thank you again for watching, and if you agree with my ideas, then go ahead and leave a big thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And if you disagree, then leave a review down below and tell me what you think could be waiting for us in the future update of Eden. But until we do get that final patch, it's fun to speculate. So again, thanks for watching, have a good day, and take care. So please leave a review down below. So until then, thank you and good night.